My name is Luca Cazal. Currently perform and release records under the name Luca, spelled LVCA. I've been making music pretty much my whole life, and I started playing the piano and the guitar when I was about 13, 14. Started playing in bands almost straight away. By the time I was 16, I was playing gigs around Italy with my first band. It was a punk rock band, and released my first record when I was 17. My first contact with electronic music happened in my teenage years in Italy, 97, 98. We used to go on vacation in Tuscany. My father's from Tuscany. And some of my friends took me to this club called Imperiale. We went to see Francesco Farfa and Mickey play. That was my first experience of a club. Yeah, that summer we made a few trips to different clubs around the Tuscany coast. I didn't even know where the DJ was at first. Obviously, after a while, you work it out and stuff, but I was just there like dancing with my friends, a lot of the times with my back to the DJ. That was normal. I mean, it's been a while now since the crowd has been facing the DJ, let's face it. I mean, I'm talking about the late 90s. These parties I was going to in Tuscany in the late 90s, they were going from midnight to midday, you know, that's it. And then there was other parties after that. It was the years of progressive trance, progressive house and trance and stuff like that. My career didn't start in electronic music. I moved to London when I was 19, 20 to play in bands and to have a career in music as a musician. At the same time, cultivating an interest in electronic music as well as, let's call it guitar music. Really pursuing like the career of being a musician, which I did eventually. I started releasing records with different bands in the UK. I got signed with my main band, which was called Cazals. We were signed to a French label called Kitsuné, and we had synthesizers and vocoders and stuff, but also guitars, a lot of effects and stuff like that. Electronic music, full electronic music happened after that, around 2008, 2009, when the band split up and I started actually making house music. My first release was with a project called Luca Cazal. It was released on a label called Southern Fried, which is owned by Fatboy Slim. A track called Different Morals, which was a pretty big underground hit that year. It was played by many people in Ibiza, on the radio, etc., etc. Yeah, so that was my beginning. Always had this duality between rock and roll music, post-punk, whatever it was, and electronic music at the same time. Obscure disco sounds, electro, Italo disco, and all that kind of stuff. Then came house music. You know, there's always been like this duality. I just love music. I also love dub and reggae, dancehall as well, different shades of Jamaican music, soul, funk. In the early 2000s, when I moved to London, while I was in the band, also doing sometimes DJ sets where we would play kind of like crossover indie and electro. There was a moment where like indie music was really crossing over with electronic music. Then came Electro Clash out of that as well. I started DJing at that time, but I'd already bought decks like 2 years before and practicing. I wasn't very good. My focus was playing guitar and synths. Gradually I got better, and when I pursued the electronic music career, then I started DJing properly. I think at first it gave me an edge. I was approaching electronic music not so much from a groove perspective, but more from a melodic perspective. And I was writing songs in the style of deep house or whatever. So there were melodies, there were chord changes, there were vocals. I think that's what made my music different at the time. 15, 16 years on, I'm more experienced with things that have to do with groove and beats and stuff like that. At the time, the beats were very simple. Yeah, I think my first few EPs did pretty well because of that, because there were songs. There was vocals, there was chords, top lines. It's great when you're like trying to do something and you don't really know what you're doing, because things that aren't either one or another thing, and it's just you know? And there was definitely a lot of that when I started. I've been listening to house music for a long time. I never tried to make it. All I've been making has been songs and band music. Let's try and make house music. What I did was like a mix of the two, I guess. And it was different, you know? Do I miss that feeling? I always try to create things that take me out of my comfort zone. Always try and do things that I'm not super comfortable with doing. So in that sense, I keep that naivety in the creative process. I don't use reference tracks that much when I make music. I have enough references in my head. When I think, oh, I want to make something that's a little bit like that, 99% of the times I end up making something completely different. I did a production music course as soon as I moved to London, pretty much. 2 years after I moved to London, I did a production course in a college called SAE, where I've learned a lot about the process of making music, being able to record my band and make demos for my band, and possibly one day record albums and stuff like that. So I actually learned like recording techniques, stuff to do with microphones and big desks and stuff like that. Making electronic music and using softwares and also like synthesizers and things like that, I learned by watching one of my best friends and my partner in my first electronic music project. We had a project called Luca Cazal. That's the project that was signed to Southern Fried, which we released our first electronic music EP. Still to these days, he's a big reference for me. I've learned pretty much everything I know about being an electronic music producer from him. He doesn't make that much music anymore, but he still knows everything and he keeps like up to date with everything. If I have like any questions, I speak to him. Yeah, he knows everything. I have a pretty solid routine. I train every day. I hang out a little bit with my dog and, you know, just do the things I need to do around the house, and then I come to the studio, do my day in the studio. I don't drink alcohol, I don't use any substances, so I don't have hangovers. You know, I have jet lags and stuff like that. I don't sleep very well, so often I'm tired. I try and keep a solid routine so that I can do everything that I need to do. Well, I have a bunch of machines. I've always had a bunch of machines. Like, I'm not one of those people that says analog and hardware is better than digital. It's just, for me, it's always been this way. You know, I like to play, so I have my synths, I have my drum machines, go into my mixing desk, sequence them through Ableton most of the time. But I also sometimes use the MPC as a sequencer. Constant thing in my music making is, I guess, that's been the constant thing over the years, is me playing with my hands, I guess. And I don't start from one thing or another. Sometimes I start with a beat, sometimes I start with a melody, sometimes I start with a sample. It really depends. From London, I moved to Ibiza. I lived there for 4 years, and then from Ibiza, I moved to Barcelona. The London scene, when I started releasing electronic music and playing out as a DJ, I would say is probably the only time in my life where I really felt part of a scene. A group of producers and DJs, they shared a similar vision, and they were going for, you know, different shades of a fairly similar sound. Yeah, it was a very exciting time. It was fresh. It was underground. For me, the word underground doesn't really have anything to do with a type of music. It's more like an attitude towards doing certain things, you know? We definitely had that attitude. Let's just be creative let's just do everything ourselves, release on our friends' labels, make music with each other, play the same parties and have fun. So that was the scene as I remember it back then. You know, when things are done in a certain way, then they become popular, and people say they become commercial. I say they become popular. So that scene, you know, sort of finished and turned into something else. Sometimes like people create their own connections and you know, their own ways to interact with other artists and people that they kind of learn from and exchange knowledge and, you know, collaborate with. Do people have a shared vision, you know, as a group? I haven't really found that. I haven't been part of it, at least. I think right now in France, there's something happening that's a little bit like that. Producers and DJs, they are making a similar kind of sound, they are doing parties together, they are collaborating, consistent, you know, what they do in terms of like sound and attitude and way of like releasing music, and yeah, that's something like that. I can see it. Here in Barcelona, there's a lot happening, but it's like little groups. Even though I've been going to clubs and stuff, I didn't really know how to arrange tracks properly and to make them club ready. You know, for me it was like verse, chorus, middle eight, you know, like beat underneath, but like it was all like I was structuring electronic music tracks the same way I would structure a song, you know? So that's changed from the very beginning. But I think like I've learned, like that's something I had to work on pretty soon after releasing my first records. But also, you know, my first releases were like collaborations, and the people that I collaborated with, they had more of an ear for those things. But yeah, I used to write songs, you know, electronic songs, let's say. Now I write more like tracks. I've never tried to adapt my music to what's going on in that particular moment. My music has always been influenced by the records that I buy, which are usually older records, different styles that I've gotten into over the years and inspired me to make my version of that music. You know, as long as I make something that I like and that excites me, I feel like I'm being, you know, honest with myself and I'm sticking to my roots, as you say. I'm not trying to do anything that is not me. I've never been the one to be like, oh, this is hot right now, let's try and make something like this. And a constant research and evolution, very personal journey with music. Well, right now I am finishing my first album as LVCA, Luca. I am also working on some new material with Hot Natured, with Jamie Jones, Ali Love and Lee Foss. We've been working on new material for the past 12, 14 months. I'm about to completely change my live set because I've been doing a live set for the last year and a half or so. Obviously changing tracks and stuff, but I feel like I want to start from scratch now and just build a new live set. Try to find out what it is that you want to say and find a way to say it in the most personal way you can. When something, it feels yours. I made this, it makes me feel something, put through my personal filter and turn into something that's me. Realize how lucky we are that, you know, we're able to do what we're doing. Be grateful, be there for each other, try to help people. In the big scheme of things, you know, what's going on in the world and everything, it's like, just be happy and be grateful while you do what you do. That's it.